Welcome back to the Plus Money Podcast, your home for the best soccer bets in 15 minutes or less. The quarterfinals of the Champions League and European competitions are around the corner. And for a record 29th straight weekend, I love the board this weekend. We have FA Cup. We got Premier League action to look forward to. Joining me today, your favorite sports bettor's favorite sports bettor. You can catch him on the Kicks Picks podcast at Kicks Picks Pod. Seemingly all over the internet this week talking about soccer bets, so we had to give him on the show. Welcome back, Mr. Nick Dianni. You can follow him on Twitter at Nick Dianni. How you doing, brother?
Doing well, man. Thank you. Appreciate you having me back on as always. Feel like it's been a little bit of it's been a while. So, had to come back and got a lot to talk about. I don't know that this is going to go 15 minutes or less, depending on if you let me rant or not.
Well, let's get that over with. I'm going to start our picks in Italy for the weekend, but change in management for your favorite club, Lazio. Well, I mean, he left. Shogun is all the rage right now, and he decided to take himself out before anybody else could take him out. So Sarri is out at Lazio. They go out to Bayern Munich in the Champions League and kind of struggling in the league. What are our immediate thoughts before we start talking bets?
Yeah, man, it's bittersweet. I've been on anybody who knows me or follows me will tell you I've been on the Saudi out train for about a year at this point, maybe even a little bit longer than a year. If you don't follow me, go check my Twitter, look it up. Like it's there on the timeline for everybody to see. But it's definitely bittersweet. Some of the issues that he brought to the team, I think his lack of flexibility, his kind of poor attitude, his style of managing in which players didn't seem to get motivated in games, week in and week out. That all needed to go. And I think this has been a problem from day one with Saudi. You saw it with Roma and Mourinho, like same situation just a couple of months earlier. But some level you get what you wish for, because now we have a Lazio team that's out of Europe, that's in ninth place, that no longer has a marquee coach that may or may not attract players. Same cheapskate owner, same, the only squad on the planet without a sponsor on their front of the shirt. Like it's just the issues are still there. Saudi was a problem. He's not the only problem. I think it's just unfortunately we're going through a little bit of a rough patch, and it comes off the heels of a second place finish in a Champions League round of 16. So that's really, really shitty. But listen, I think this was a move that was needed. The club needs to reset. There's a couple of good young players to build around. There's a ton of players that need to go away, but none of that was happening unless this move happened first.
All fair points. I want to say two things. The books officially caught up to Roma this weekend. Their team total over 1.5. They are playing at Sassuolo, who I think are a relegation side right
Yep.
now. Their
Worst
team
team.
total
Yep.
over 1.5 is like minus 230. So, there's probably still value there. I don't think I'm gonna chase it personally. I have some props. I don't think I'm gonna give them out, but if you are a sicko and you want them, at Angel Passaro on Twitter and Instagram, I will give them to you. I said we're going to start with Serie A because we're going to Empoli. They're taking on Bologna. Empoli, another team just outside of the relegation zone. Bologna, first loss in a while last weekend as they fell to Inter. More importantly, their star striker, Xerxes, picking up an injury and potentially out for this one. They're still money line plus 110. And I know this strategy hasn't always played out well for us, taking a top four Serie A side against a relegation side. But their money line plus 110. You can't ignore that value. Any league in the world, you give me a top four team against a team fighting off the relegation race, I'm gonna take the money line team. Like it doesn't make sense to not. Their team total over 1.5 is plus 144, and that has hit in 7 out of the last 8 matches. I am a little concerned about that without having, like I said, one of the most well talked about young strikers in Europe right now. This Bologna side has a lot of players that I think with them making the Champions League, if they make the Champions League, they'll be able to retain these guys. If not, I think this is a team you could see somewhat get picked apart over the next 2 to 3 seasons. We've been talking about Real Sociedad as another team that is going to get picked apart. Leverkusen, Bologna right up with you. Anything you like from this game?
Yeah, I love it. I think that whether we discuss games, whether we don't discuss games, we always seem to be on the same side of things. Your philosophy is exactly 100% where I'm at. You take a top four side at plus money, in this case against the relegation side. You don't have to look much further than that. I think you live with the plus 110. They should get it done. They should bounce back. Their form has been good. This is a good test to see if they really have what it takes to compete for a top four, top five, top six spot. And they can't take care of Empoli, it's going to be a long, you know, 2 months from here to the end of the season. So I like the plus 110 in the money line. I think Orsolini, who is a personal favorite of mine, has some pretty good value. Anytime goal scorer plus 230, especially with Xerxes
Ooh.
out, as Andrew mentioned. Plus 230 is a good number for him. Depending, I have to imagine he starts if he's fully healthy, if he's starting. Not sure if the formation changes with Xerxes out or not. That's something to keep an eye on, but plus 230, he'll be taking free kicks. He'll be taking the penalties should they get one. Too good of a number to pass up.
All right, let's jump to Luton Town taking on Nottingham Forest. Luton got into a Premier League classic yesterday. Go up 3-0 against Bournemouth, start smoking their cigars. They went full AC Milan. You never go full AC Milan. They lost 4-3. Well, I guess that's not true AC Milan. Liverpool just tied them in regulation. Whatever. Uh they lost 4-3 to Bournemouth, a good Bournemouth side. Um Home versus Forest, and I have their record in relegation 6 pointers because Nottingham Forest not exactly out of that race. They got into a 2-2 draw early in the season at Forest. They lost 2-1 home to Burnley. They drew Burnley 1-1. They 2-1 win against Everton, 2-1 win against Everton, both home and away, and a 3-1 loss against Sheffield. So I love both teams to score over 2.5 here at minus 125. There's only one of those games that hasn't come in. It's been coming in left and right for Luton. I really like Luton team total over 1.5 at plus 122. They've been scoring goals of late. And as I just said it, I think the over 3.5 at plus 166 is a play. If you want to take that down to over 3 to get yourself some insurance, I think that's a great number as well. I just see goals. I see craziness. Um, I'm more concerned about can Forest score than I am about can Luton score in this one. But I do think this one is going to be a little balls to the wall.
I'm with you. I think it has to be. I think that you throughout the scoreline some good stats. I think the relegation games have been better than maybe top of the table games in the Premier League the last couple of years. So I like Luton. They have to bounce back. The things that have impressed me about them are they've been really good at home. I mean, I don't know that that's groundbreaking information, but I think they're better than I thought they would be at home. And they've been scoring a ton of goals. You just mentioned it, right? You're not so much worried about them compared to their opponent. So I think, 3 goals is 3 goals, win or lose. Yeah, it's a tough loss to bounce back from, but you have to have a short memory if you're fighting for relegation or promotion or to stay up. So I think Luton draw no bet plus 105 is a solid number. If you can get an Asian handicap, Luton plus a quarter of a goal at minus 130, that's kind of where I'm at. I think at worst they walk out of this one with a draw. I think they win. They should win. Forest has been bad. I don't know that we talked enough about how bad Forest has been. Crucial game. You got to tip the home side here.
Yeah, I think Forest, if these points deductions come down this season or not, I think they could be in a lot of trouble. Um, Fulham taking on Tottenham. London derby. Last week on the podcast or 2 weeks ago on the podcast, I said that Luton against Palace was a London derby. It's not. But this one is. This is definitely a London derby. Spurs off an absolute scorching appearance against Aston Villa. Did not know they had that in them. Um, I think they're kind of back. They're trying to retain top four, and the title race runs through them. I think in 3 consecutive weeks they have Arsenal, Liverpool, and Manchester City. So they kind of control things. Somehow they're a plus number on the money line. Fulham were on a little bit of a scorcher themselves and then lost
Yep.
to Wolves last week. Spurs have won the last 4 straight, the last 4 of these games straight up. And then I know Ani's not here. I did want to give him his flowers because he put me onto this bet. The shots on target in the match bet. He's usually going to go for one side, so I would assume he would go Tottenham here. Tottenham 6 shots in the match, minus 110, 7 shots in the match, plus 185, 8 shots in the match, plus 350. Here's their last five um, totals. You got 5, 6, 4, 6, and 6. And then in that same time, Fulham's shots on target given up 3, 5, 9, 3, 4. So I don't love the value there. I think you could go 6 at minus 110, but I do think it's a little risky. I would maybe stick more 10 total shots in the game at minus 130 or 11 shots in the game at plus 130. I do think this one is going to open up because Ange doesn't. The Tottenham just don't play an open like a closed up game yet. They're very
Yep.
much remind me of Liverpool, you know, 16, 17, early 17, 18 before Van Dijk got there. Um, and that's fine for a team that if your ambition is make top four, that's what Liverpool did that season. Um, what do you like? I mean, Spurs, did they flip the page yet?
Yeah, so I'm kind of with you. I think Fulham was in great form. They've impressed me. They've been a lot better than I thought they would be this year, especially after losing Mitrovic. But it's got to be Tottenham, and I'm going to shout out Scotty on our show because he's been riding them for the past few weeks. He has them this week as well. I think plus 105 is a strong number for Tottenham here. It's just doesn't really make sense. I mean, yes, away from home, but they shouldn't be getting this type of number. So you have to ride with it. I think we're much closer to seeing the Tottenham at the beginning of the season that we saw at the beginning of the season. They're getting healthy. They are healthy. That's important. And if they look half as good as they looked last week, this is a no doubter.
Yeah, and Aston Villa is one of the hardest away grounds in the Premier League. I think it's probably the second hardest ground in the league right this season outside of Anfield. I don't have the stats to back that up. I think that's Aston Villa's only their second home loss all season, which is insane. I don't know. I think I have Aston Villa top six. I think that's going to hit, but I think that we're going to maybe limp over the line there a little. I'm worried about the team we're going to talk about next, which is Manchester United. They host Liverpool. Um, Big derby, FA Cup quarterfinal. So I was looking at the other FA Cup quarterfinals, by the way, guys. The only other thing I kind of liked was both teams scoring over 2.5 in the Chelsea Leicester. That's minus 115, and Chelsea haven't kept a clean sheet in 9 matches. But finding value in Wolves Coventry and Manchester City versus Newcastle was always going to be hard because I think City get through. I think they're on their just inevitable we don't lose for a while run. So let's talk Man United Liverpool. Um, Liverpool's still a little wounded, getting healthier. They're going to be pretty much back to probably their best after this international break. But Man United potential injuries. You may or may not have Hoyland. Definitely some injuries on that back line. So I think the advantage still goes to Liverpool, which is what the money line is showing. I think they're minus 120 money line right now. I'm going to take Liverpool and over 1.5 at plus 110. I
Yep.
do think they get the win here. I am concerned about regulation, so I wouldn't hate a draw bet here. But as per usual, the place I'm going to go is shots. Last time Liverpool and Man United lined up, they had 8 shots on target in that game. Liverpool to have 7 or more is plus 140. I think there's insane value there. And the books have caught up on my Luis Diaz free money play every week. I was taking Luis Diaz 3 and 4 shots in the match, not on target, just shots because my man needs 8 bites of the apple to score. Um, and that's like minus 175 in this game. So, uh, I will wait till lineups drop and then I will furiously attempt to get that bet in.
Yeah.
But I think depending on who starts up top, Darwin Nunez or Luis Diaz, if you can get either of them 3 shots on target between minus 130, it's playable. But you got to be careful about that because if you take it today and they don't start and they come off the bench,
Brutal.
you're yeah, that's a lot to make up in such a short period of time. But what do you got in England's biggest game?
Yeah, man, I'm either like the greatest host or the co-host or the most boring co-host ever because like it's just a money line kind of week for me. I think Liverpool are the better team. I think they get it done. If you take Pool at minus 125, which is a silly, silly number for them, you don't have to really think much harder. I think personally they were the much better team last week. They didn't get I mean, they got a result. I don't know if they got the result they were hoping for, but they took it to City. You can't ask for much more. I think United looked good for about 20 minutes against Everton and then probably got outplayed the rest of that game. So I'm kind of big on recent form here. I think United will be up for it, but they're just an inferior team. Pool is definitely looking to get silverware any way they can at this point for Klopp. And listen, I have to say Nunez really has impressed me the last couple of games that I've watched. And it's because of his work rate. It's because of his determination and desire to play and to win. I think that I don't know that it goes unnoticed. I'm sure if you watch Liverpool, you're aware of this, but just as a non-Liverpool fan, like, yeah, he's not the most polished guy on the planet. He's not gonna score 20 goals this year. Maybe he is. I don't know how many goals he has, but I mean, this guy is just everywhere on the pitch. It's noticeable. He's exactly the type of player you want on your team, whether he's going to be a superstar or not. That's up for debate, but man, give me this guy in a starting 11 any day. I think he's got a lot of talent. I think he's got a lot of runway, a lot of room to grow. So I'd be interested in Nunez. I don't know about if the shot props are out yet. I think Harvey Elliott, man, if that dude starts and you can get a decent number for shot on target, he's been like a machine lately to get shots on target. I don't see a line for it yet, but this is a game where I'm eyeing cards. I think the total is 4.5. That's a little chalky. It's minus 140. Um, you don't necessarily have to play that, but Manchester United over 2.5 cards is minus 125. I think
Ooh.
United has to get 3 cards. I don't see a world where they don't. This is going to be a heated game. Pool's going to have the majority of the ball. Um, cards have been hit or miss in England this year, but I don't know. This seems like a good spot for it.
Yeah, I really love the Harvey Elliott shout because he's been on excellent form and has been called into the team a lot of late. And I do see a situation where maybe he starts in midfield, or if he starts, I think that's a great value. And I think even if he comes off the bench in like say the 60th minute or whatever, I think I think if you get like plus 250 on that shot on target, I think you can roll the dice there. It just depends on where the value is. As for Darwin, 20 goals, he's pretty close. I'm trying to find the stat. He's 10 in the Premier League, and he scored a
Okay,
bunch
there you go.
in the League Cup and Europa League. So he's getting up there. Um, the transition he has made is I'm very very happy with it, and I'm so happy that I'm going to see Uruguay play Bolivia in the Copa America this summer here in the States because I'm pumped to go see him live. So, all right, we've gone long. I have so many more picks, games that I also have action for this weekend. That if you want them, you know where to find me at Andrew Passaro, Hitafe Girona, Inter Napoli, Juve Genoa, Leverkusen. First time in a long time there's value for Leverkusen as they take on Freiburg this week. I gave you guys briefly Chelsea and Leicester. So I'm going away for the weekend. Maybe I'll get a parlay video out for you guys. Maybe I won't. We'll see. But you know where to find us at the Plus Money Pod at Angel Passaro. You can follow Nick at Nick Dianni. You can check out his show, the Kicks and Picks podcast at Kicks Picks Pod. And we'll catch you. I don't know if we'll catch you next week. I'd like to do something next week. It just depends on how exhausted I
International break too is tough, man. They're all
am.
friendlies, right? So
Um,
tough to do it without meaningful games.
Europe's all friendlies. I think we got.
No.
I think we have. South America is always playing qualifiers. Like they don't play
Okay,
friendlies
there
in
you go.
South America. There's the Nations League for the U.S., but I hate betting on the U.S. because the numbers are always too wacky for what the team is, in my opinion. And yeah, I don't know. I think we need a break, if we're being honest. But would I love to reassess the futures market and maybe take a look ahead to Europe and South America as we have a tournament coming up? That's an idea. It just depends on how much time I have. But we'll catch you guys soon. Until then, let's stay positive. Everybody have a good week. Bet responsibly.